Howdy, Ags. The time has come. You finally have an offensive coordinator for your 2023 Texas A&M football team. It took a while, did it not? We've been waiting around. There's been a lot of back and forth, speculation all over the place, and the name was hit early on, about a month ago. Your guy, Bobby Petrino. Love it or hate it, you're going to have to live with it. So let's flesh through this though. I'm here to show you, as promised, everything I can about this guy. We're going to go through his history, going to show you some on-field stuff, really get you an idea front and center about what this guy's going to bring to the table for you, because we're going to have to deal with him one way or another, baggage and all. We're going to talk about the baggage. You're going to have to deal with him. It all comes, every piece of it is coming. So here's the deal. Let's start off with the obvious, and this is my note to myself. Okay, keep your guard up. That is a very reasonable take for anyone. I'm putting it out there as mine, but if you have reservations about this take in this hire, yeah, that's fine. 100%, it's completely fine. It makes sense, to be quite honest. If you know any of the history, of course, why would you not be skeptical? Makes perfect sense. So don't dog that. But take it for what it is. And I think it's important in this process for us to understand what it is we're actually dealing with. So I will get through a lot of that tonight. The first thing I do want to do is I want to show you what we're going to get in this guy, talk about some of the things he's been able to do on the field. So let's get right over to this most previous game. He's currently at Missouri State, and at Missouri State they recently played Arkansas. So let me show you what we were able to do, Bobby Petrino, Missouri State, against Arkansas. So they did play this guy, and I'll kind of narrate you through this. You can kind of watch and see what he's able to do. Right now they're taking the lead 24-17, 3 minutes left in the third quarter. They've previously been up, like, I think 17-3. Let's watch this play one more time. Oh, let's pause. So what are you starting off with right here? What do you see? Looks like we are running at least 11 personnel, one running back, one tight end, probably two actually. So I see one hand down, one guy offset, and then a receiver sort of bunched in but on the outside. So we got 12 personnel here, something we're pretty familiar with at this point and have grown to appreciate, I think. So this guy definitely knows our schemes, and that's definitely one of his pros. Let's watch how this play develops one more time. You know, they don't have much over there at Missouri State, but if you can scheme like this, then the offense is apparently not expired. That's what we learned from this whole last season of criticism, right? If you can scheme like that, then it's not really out of date. It's not really expired. Now, I hate to show you this next one, but I'm going to do it. And this is the 2015 Music City Bowl. A&M played Louisville when he was the head coach. They had Lamar Jackson at the time. We had Christian Kirk, Myles Garrett. Hubenak was behind center. So this is a little bit longer clip. We're going to watch a few different plays that he was able to drum up when he was at Louisville. It's hard not to notice Lamar's speed. Don't know if we're going to quite have something like that. Is it necessary for him to have that? I don't think so, but it's always a plus. Weigman's got wheels, so we might be able to scheme some stuff there for sure. But just kind of watch what he can do. You know, you got 12 personnel there, moves the tight end around, puts Lamar Jackson right in his back, and it's just a well drawn up play. It's nothing special. Players executed. They did what they needed to do. While he was at Louisville in this time frame, which was his second stint, I believe, 2015, they went 8-5 this year. This was their big win that year, And I think Lamar Jackson won the Heisman the following year under Petrino. So he's got some skins on the wall. He does. His previous stint there was 2003 to 2006, when they were readily, I think they were tied for first or second most years, maybe 1 year third. 2006 they won the Orange Bowl, went 12-1 that year. So he's got some chops. He does. He has not done a whole lot while at Missouri State. Sometimes you see these guys go to the lower ranks and you think, well, they tear it up down there, and he really hasn't done that. So that's that. I've been getting some communications from Arkansas fans today, and they seem to think, from the ones I've heard from, that this is an amazing hire. Clint Sterner, famous Arkansas quarterback, he had amazing things to say about him. I'm going to get a guy that's going to challenge Jimbo. Let you watch these one more time while we keep talking. He said he would challenge Jimbo. He's an unmatched, successful offensive mind, amongst other things. Really had just nothing but good things to say. Of course, he's not addressing the elephant in the room. So continue to watch the highlights and let me address the elephant in the room, because here's what the baggage is. And there's actually two pieces of baggage. You probably know the one, but I want to try and dig a little bit deeper and give you a little bit more, because I do have some concerns about the guy. I'm not going to lie. Remember, I said the first thing is keep my guard up. That is my first thing to do in this whole thing, is keep my guard up. But I have other things and other notes on my take on Petrino being hired. So let me recap. While at Arkansas, believe 2011, he is on a motorcycle. Don't let this guy near a motorcycle while in him, please. Those Verbo scooters, whatever they're called, VO, no, can't allow it. Okay, take the guy's card away. Don't allow him to ride VO scooter anywhere. I don't want to see anybody on the back of a VO scooter riding with him in a helmet. Okay, so he gets in a wreck on this motorcycle. He immediately says, "I'm alone. I'm by myself." I think AD for Arkansas gets wind of this, and then they start to kind of confront him. Hey, were you really alone? Are you sure that's what you want to do? And they're kind of like knowing the answer. Looks like he kind of sticks to that for a little bit. Then finally, though, he recants and comes back with, no, I wasn't. But of course, then that turns up that no, he's not only that, but he's also having an affair. Now, if that wasn't bad enough, guy does have 4 kids, by the way. So there's some things I do have some philosophical problems with. We'll talk through those. This person that he had the affair with is a staffer. So you can see the conflict of interest. Got the job probably through, obviously, favor, right? Which raises a lot more concerns. So there were definitely some things done there. I think there was a $20,000 gift given at some point, all back in this 2011 time frame. Whenever this started, year or two before that, I'm not sure on that. Definitely some unsavory behavior going on there. Now, later, let me get my timeline straight here. So after he gets fired from Arkansas, he ends up picking up the job at Western Kentucky, but then he goes back to Louisville, right? And this is when he has Lamar Jackson, right? Good. Okay, so he gets that Heisman in 2016. His final year at Louisville is then in 2018. So the way the story goes here is that things weren't really going that well that year. He kind of starts lighting into the players. AD knows that it's the end for him there, because he's lost the team at that point. So he feels like he's just kind of, way he's treated the players, way he's gone about this is just, it's time for them to move on. Needed to make the change. So that's his most recent situation. That was 2018, because that's what we're most close to. A lot of people can dismiss the 2011 stuff with Arkansas and the staffer, because it's been over a decade ago, and people can easily just say, well, come on, haven't you you learned from this and grown away from that and all that other stuff, which There's some truth to that, but it's easier when it's further away. Okay, so I got reservations about these two things. These are my two main things that I have the biggest questions and wonderings about the baggage that's going to come into this. Now, my second kind of big takeaway from all this is understanding what we hired for. These are all head coaching stints for Petrino. We hired him for OC, so he's not the top dog. He's not going to be leading these players, and I think that's a good thing. I think it really needs to be a point of emphasis. I would be very much more concerned about this if he was going to be the head coach. I think he's kind of gotten to the point where he's proven he's not really head coach material, perhaps. Maybe he can earn that back one day, and I'm not above people being redeemed and those kinds of things. I mean, look, people make mistakes. I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes. I don't really think it matters so much about the level of mistake that is made. I think it does matter how much people have grown from it. Of course, there are levels of mistake where, look, we're just not ever going to come back with that kind of thing, and that person's never going to be hired. I think some of the things he's done have warrant that type of question. That's fine. But it doesn't mean somebody can't learn from them and can't move on. So I am, at least in that camp, guarded, big time guarded. I'll like to see what he has to do. My final takeaway, although there are others, but I want to go ahead and couple it with that last one, is that if this is not the right hire, heads are going to roll, in my opinion. Multiple heads. So this needs to be a fantastic hire. I say that with a lot of emphasis and a lot of fervor, because this definitely is the beginning of something. This is the beginning of the end. Who knows? That will depend on Jimbo. That will depend on Bjork and whether or not they were left to their guy. If this was, it was probably said, to CYA, is this your guy? This is your guy? Because if I'm their superior, am I going to ride or die with you on this hire? I'm a loyal guy, so I would probably do the same. So if Bjork is saying the same thing to Jimbo, and he's like, is this your guy? This is who you want? And Bjork's like, well, does he got to make a decision if he's going to back him or not? Well, if you're his boss, I think you better make sure you have done your due diligence, because you need to back that hire. That would be the thing to do. You can't just sit there and leave him out to dry, right? So, but if you're going to do that, the way you CYA is you say, look, we have to completely do our due diligence. We have to lay down the law with Petrino and expectations and the full gambit. What is it that you are here to do, Petrino? Are you here to fool around? Are you here to make a name for yourself? Are you here to work yourself back into good standing? What are you here for? If you're here for all that other stuff, we're going to have to assess you very thoroughly to decide if that's true and if we believe you enough to make this, have this leap of faith, because he needs to know how much of a risk he is taking as a hire. I think it's a big risk. It might have a huge upside though. The pros really are that he's a mastermind. He really is. He runs the system that we do, which is good. So he knows that we don't have to worry about implanting a new system for our guys to get a hold of. We don't have time for that. We need to get into something. We just need somebody to be able to implement it and do it the way that it needs to be done. We've seen that it can work and it will work, all this kind of stuff. It'll be his job to make sure that it does work. So he's very successful. He should end up being successful, and he allows Jimbo to just manage. We've been needing it. We're getting what we wanted. It's not the splashy hire. It's not the young, flashy guy, but it's a seasoned guy. It's a guy that knows what he's doing. He's got a lot of experience. Brings a lot to the table. So, which one do you kind of go with on these kinds of things? Will he bring some new ideas? He definitely brings another mind, so he can bring new ideas to the table. What's his motivation like? I think Motivation, if Bjork's done his job and Jimbo's done his job, his motivation will be right where it needs to be. One that's there to prove themselves, and that all this media hype and all this blowback from hiring this kind of guy, of course, if who doesn't believe that if this was a Alabama hire that this would not be that big a deal? But it's A&M, so it's a big deal, right? We're basically public enemy number one at this point, and I kind of like it. I know it burns Bebo for us to get all the media right now, but it is what it is, so take it for what it's worth. But if they do that and they lay down the expectation the way it needs to be, then he should come in with quite a bit of motivation. That I like. I like it a lot. One of the low-key things I think he does bring to the table is he's going to be another alpha in the clubhouse. I know that's kind of what we were going for a little bit with Durkin, previous head coach. When I watched the national championship, was it last year? And we had all the coaches in the room. And I'm just kind of thinking, like, I know we've got some. I know Terry Price is, and I know Elijah Robinson is, and all these kinds of things. They can really lead these young men. That's what I mean with this where it comes to leading. Of course, you got to wonder about the character when it comes to leading young men, but it needs to be somebody that they're going to be authoritative to, and someone that they can, get across. Just the players are going to respect. He's going to have to earn that for sure. That's going to come from personality and schematically in his X's and O's and knowledge of the game. He's going to have to own that. And I think he brings that sort of coaching alpha type that it will at least allow Jimbo to step back a little bit on that and not have to worry about the accountability for the players on that side of the ball. So this branches out a little bit, I think is the best way to say this when I'm kind of talking about this idea of the alpha, because you could take this and run with it lots of different ways. I don't mean all those different ways. Kind of mean like Jimbo's having to hold everyone accountable all around, it seems like. Petrino will be able to do that on the offensive side very well. That was a point I think Clint Sterling was trying to make, is that he will own his side of the ball, and you won't have to worry about him working with the guys, making sure that they know what they need to do. Let's put it that way. We talk about execution all the time. He'll own that. He'll do that. I don't know. That's my thought about that. Maybe I'll put it in the comments. We'll get into a discussion. We'll kind of parse that out a little bit more or whatever. But I think you get what I'm trying to put at. We've talked about all the baggage. One con that I'm not seeing out there a lot is he's a bit flaky. Right after his first stint with Louisville, he then moves over to the Atlanta Falcons, and they want him to come over there and coach up Michael Vick. And that was right before Michael Vick got busted with the whole dog fighting, racketeering ring stuff. So he was only there 1 year, and he resigned, about 13 games in, if I'm not mistaken, because they couldn't really talk to his agent wise, so he could, he had reached out and expressed his interest in the Arkansas situation, I believe. And so he had that 1 year stint there, and then he had a 1 year stint with Western Kentucky. He's kind of he's been known to bounce around a little bit, let's just say that, leave early. He could leave us early. Who doesn't think that this guy's not trying to make a name for himself and find a way for him to bounce back into the ranks again? I fully believe that's what he's wanting to do, don't you? So I don't think this is any kind of long-term hire. That's for sure. If he does his job right, 2 years, 3 years at most, but he could leave much earlier than that. So that's definitely a drawback as well. I hope I've covered everything with this guy. It is very left and very right, very up and very down, all the way around. Don't you agree? Tell me what you think about him. For the moment, like I said, I am just a complete guarded hell yeah. That's where I'm at. Hell yeah, let's go. but I'm going to really be reserved with it. So I will be watching closely. I think we all will. So keep your guard up, but be excited. If this plays out the way that it very well could play out, then we got dynamite in the locker room, and that's good. That's good. I'm going to end on a sad note, but it's actually kind of a good thing too. Behind the scenes, my understanding is the staff worked really, really hard to keep Anthony Lucas around. From what I've heard, I really respect the process that this guy went through. From what I understand, we almost had him back. He is officially in the transfer portal. He's not officially taken anywhere yet, but he's there. We thought maybe he wasn't going to end up in there, but lo and behold, right after the last podcast, he ends up in there, and I'll be damned, right? However, with that said, wish this guy the best. I really do. I think he's a really good guy. I think he just got wound up in some situations that he wasn't quite ready to deal with and needs a fresh start. So I'll be a fan of this guy, I think, for quite a while. Watch his career a little bit closer than I will some of the others. Not afraid to say all that, because sometimes things go a little differently for others. So I'll leave it with you at that. We got the OC, y'all. We got them. Let's go have us a spring. Let's go have us another signing day, and let's hit 2023 with the ground running. Talk to y'all soon. Thanks and gig 'em.